kind of unique aspect to Planetside that not a lot of other games have, this strategic metagame that really allows you to affect the moment-to-moment gameplay. See how this works. But he can lie. I can live on your line again. Look at that, it was nothing. See, it's back. So, what was I talking about? Thank you. So, that strategic ability really works well when you start having organized groups of players. And to me, the thing that always has been amazing about Planetside as a game is, I mean, yeah, you have thousands of players that are fighting at once, you have these massive kind of persistent maps, and that stuff is all really, really awesome. But the coolest thing about Planetside, in my opinion, is the fact that hundreds of players can coordinate with each other in these massive, epic battles. No other games really deliver on that sort of gameplay. There's a few that do a pretty good job of it. I think EVE Online is an amazing example of hundreds of players being able to coordinate in massive battles. It's not exactly an action game in the same sense that Planetside is, though. So you end up having a truly action-based game like this with that backend that allows for hundreds of players to do it, and it's an experience that you can't get anywhere else in gaming. It's really unique, and honestly, once you play it one time, it's really difficult for you to go back to playing a kind of arena-based shooter game. I love a lot of different shooters. I love arena-based games too. But once you have this kind of game with the amount of breadth and depth that is in here, and the kind of camaraderie that happens when you're playing with the same group of 50, 100 players every night for weeks and weeks on end, and you're playing against the same enemies over and over again too, those sort of things really make playing an FPS game feel more three-dimensional. It really feels like you're playing with tactics that are, what's going on with those dudes? Just get in, I guess. So those sort of aspects really make it feel like you're playing a game that has a little bit more depth to it. I mean, you end up having these shared experiences with the same groups of people, and you understand what different outfits, specialties are. When you see an outfit coming flying overhead and they have their specially customized galaxies flying overhead, you get a really good idea of, hey, you know what, we have some really awesome logistical players that are here. I've played with these guys before, they know where to land the galaxies, I know that this next base fight is going to go well because some guys that I really trust and they know what they're doing are going to be there to help me out. That kind of feeling, honestly, until you experience it, it's kind of hard to describe. But once you do, it makes it so that these types of games, and you ask anybody who played the original Planetside, it becomes something that they want to play over and over again. And that's why 9 years later, there's still a huge Planetside community that, honestly, there hasn't been another game that scratched that itch for them in the last 10 years. So with Planetside 2, we're really hoping to be able to bring that experience to modern FPS gamers. Especially customized armor and weapons they use, and it really helps you learn the game to be able to see your different allies and what sort of, or the multiple enemies that are attacking you, what sort of weapons they use. Maybe you know that you went to a bad spot because you saw that they were assisted by 5 other people, so you know that, oh, I walked into a giant army of guys, I should probably not go back in that direction. So Adam's going through here now and he's checking out some of the different gameplay customizations. Again, all these are going to be unlocked via certifications in the game. So this vehicle that you get, you'll get it by default, and everybody's going to have access to it. We're a free-to-play game, but we're not doing any sort of, you have to be a member to drive vehicles. We don't have any mechanics like that. From the get-go, as a free player, you're going to have access to every vehicle in the game, every class in the game. There's nothing that's going to limit you from being able to play any of those things. And then if you want to, you can just spend your own gaming time unlocking these different certifications to be able to get different weapons on the top of it, different drivetrains for the vehicle. All that stuff comes from gameplay, and nothing that affects gameplay, absolutely nothing that affects gameplay at all, is something that you can buy. The whole idea of pay to win as a kind of pejorative term for free-to-play games is something that we're really trying to avoid. So things like new weapons you can always unlock through gameplay. A lot of those weapons you could get with Station Cash, which is our in-game proprietary currency. But because none of them are actual upgrades to each other, you're never really buying an advantage. You're just unlocking a different playstyle by using Station Cash to get those. And things that actually do give you power, like a grenade, makes me stronger than I was without a grenade. It's just a straight up power add. You can't use Station Cash to buy that type of thing. Those are purely in-game resources to be able to unlock. The kind of things that will be exclusive to Station Cash, and in fact, Adam, maybe you can pop open the store really quick and we can take a look at some of the stuff that's in there, if you can find a safe spot in there. So he has most of the stuff unlocked in here, but you can kind of get an idea for how the store is laid out and how you can see the different types of things that are available. So I go into infantry customizations. So these are things like different armor attachments. These are cosmetic things like horns for my helmet or some cool little doohickeys that I can put on the side of my armor. These things are all purely cosmetic. They don't give any sort of gameplay advantage whatsoever. So these are the type of things that people will be buying exclusively for Station Cash. But if you go into infantry equipment, or infantry weapons, excuse me, sorry. So here's all these different weapons that he has access to. And he can go through it and unlock any of these if he wants to, purely using resources in the game, or if he wants to get them quicker, he can use Station Cash. So we're planning on having probably around 75 or so weapons at launch for each one of the factions. That's infantry weapons only. Vehicle weapons is probably going to be about 40 to 50 vehicle weapons for each one of the empires. Different vehicles are going to have access to more weapons. The transport vehicles will have fewer weapon choices than a tank, for instance, which is all about having weapon choices. But they're all going to have a huge amount of certification growth that they can do, and a huge amount of customizability that they can do within them. So this particular base I was saying is captured sort of in a conquest manner. So each one of these points that you can see on the map, there's the point F in front of them. You have to kind of assault that point and capture it, and then you begin earning tickets towards it. So right now, Adam's Empire isn't doing very well. They're TR, so they never really do very well. And they have no points captured, or I guess they have point B captured, and that's it. But the NC, which is clearly the best faction, has 4 points captured, so they're doing a very good job of defending this base. We also have the Manu Sovereignty attacking at the same time, our third faction. I don't have much to say about them because I think they're really slimy, but maybe Termel can talk about them a little bit later. But each one of the factions has their own sort of unique feeling in terms of what type of weapons they have access to, their vehicles that they have access to. Certain ones are all about... Just guys, the NC, for instance, are all about hitting hard. They move a little bit slower, but they can survive in fights a little bit longer. Their weapons are largely experimental. They use like Gauss rifles, so railguns, magnetic stuff, that sort of stuff. Their theme is all about sort of being an insurgent faction. They're the rebel faction on the continent. The Terran Republic, which Adam's playing right now, is the most militaristic of the factions. They're very much the organized government force. Their weapons are very sophisticated, modern-themed assault rifles. And for the most part, their weapons are built around putting the most lead down the hallway as fast as possible. And their tanks are sort of the most maneuverable, their vehicles are the fastest. So they're all about agility and basically being able to get into situations really quickly and kind of be able to get out of them really fast too, because they lose a lot. And then you have the Manu Sovereignty, which is our third faction. They're the ones that are based on alien technology. So they use a lot of energy weapons, plasma weapons. Their tanks are hover tanks, so they can strafe, whereas the other ones can't. Each one of these sort of fit into each other and kind of create a finger, rock, scissors balance, where some of them are really strong at air vehicle gameplay, and some of them are really strong inherently at ground vehicle gameplay. So the way you fight against different empires, depending on which empire you are, is totally different. Now, we have all those side grades too, so although my TR soldier might start with a sniper rifle that does a little bit less damage than the NC's sniper rifle starts off as, his is a semi-automatic. And through side grades, he can grow into basically being very similar to the NC, but never quite as distinct in terms of the most damage per shot as the NC can. So side grades allow you to sort of make it so that you can play on the team that your friends are playing on without having to play exactly in that faction's playstyle. but you're never going to be able to get to the extremes that each one of the factions can get to in terms of maneuverability or damage or fire rate or accuracy, those sort of things. I'm kind of curious, how many of you were at E3 and actually got to play the game at E3? It's about half. So, for those of you who haven't yet and haven't really gotten a chance to play it yet, I think you can kind of see just by watching that, this game feels and plays very much like a modern AAA shooter game. As I mentioned right at the beginning, one of the things that was really important to us was not sacrificing any of these. Was not sacrificing any of the moment-to-moment gameplay to be able to have the massive combat gameplay. So that's something that's been a huge undertaking for us, is being able to deliver these gigantic, enormous battles. But it's really paid off, because now we have a game that feels like, to anybody who comes and picks it up, it feels like every FPS game that they've ever played except for gigantic. And then once they get under the hood a little bit, they realize that there's this massive strategic depth and the ability for you to have all this personalization and customization, squad-based mechanics, outfit-based mechanics, and leadership stuff all built in. So going a little bit further about things like player coordination, we have an outfit system. This is our equivalent of guild. It's as robust as you would expect to see in any of today's MMORPG games. So